So today I'm back with another very easy, low intensity but very high output DPS build for PvE in Guild Wars 2. This time we take a look at Ranger and in particular we take a look at Soulbeast. This build is not as broken as the unload Deadeye, where you just press one button and then you can take your hands off the keyboard. So if you want to check that out, be sure to check out the description or the link in the top right hand corner. This build here is special in a different way. It is very easy to perform and to get to 30k DPS. And you can then slowly increase the amount of buttons that you press. You can go up to numbers of 35k DPS or something, or even higher, just by increasing the amount of buttons that you press and increasing the amount of, let's say, going closer to the real rotation of a really high intensity Soulbeast build. That's the cool part about this build. So now, with that much out of the way, let's start with the gear. So the gear is really straightforward. You run full Berserker with Scholar Rune. Very easy. Full Berserker armor, full Berserker trinkets, full Berserker weapons. For weapons, you use Sword and Axe, Force and Impact Sigil. And on the offhand, which you don't swap too often, you would use the Longbow, again with Force and Impact Sigil. For Relic, you go with Relic of Sakiros, just a passive healing buff, really, really good. If you want to do a little bit more DPS, you can go for Relic of the Thief, but then you lose some healing. This build is optimized for group settings, so your instance content like fractals, like raids, like strike missions. It's not optimized for solo builds, so if you want to have a Soulbeast solo build, be sure to check out the link in the description or the video in the top right hand corner. For utility and food consumables, you want to go, of course, with Cilantro Lime Sous Vide Steaks if you can afford the Ascended version, just some little bit more DPS and lifestealing. Other than that, power and ferocity. If you can't afford the Ascended version, go for the bowls of sweet and spicy butternut squash soup. Same stats, just not the lifesteal. And then for utility consumables, you always go with superior sharpening stones or similar versions of that. Just some nice power buff. Let's now quickly talk about the traits. So the traits are Skirmishing, Beast Mastery and Soulbeast. So in Skirmishing, you just get a lot of damage buffs, some swiftness, some fury, some crit chance increase and damage increase. You get some bleeding, that's not important. You get some nice power and might, that helps. And then some nice fury and crit chance increase and ferocity. Just overall a lot of just offensive buffs. Then Beast Mastery, this is important because you're a Soulbeast, so you can merge with your pet. You use the pig pet. If you merge with it, you actually inherit the stats of it. And the Beast Mastery actually buffs that. So command skills give you some boons, not that important. You get some nice damage buff. You get some health recovery because you are the pet in the Soulbeast stance. That's really nice. Get some more movement speed and ferocity. And you get even more ferocity and recharge reduction on X skills. It's really nice. So just overall, again, very high buff of offensive skills and stuff. So Beast Mastery helps a lot when you are Soulbeast in offensive. Soulbeast gives some nice quickness and fury. Just if the boons are a little bit lacking of your party, that can help. Then you get a bit of boon extension. So also again, very good. And then very nice, your stance skills, which you have 2 of, are shared to your allies as well. And the duration is a little bit longer. So that's really nice. So like I said, this build is a DPS build. So not a quick DPS build or something. It's full DPS build. It's optimized for instance content. But that's the cool part here. With all of those traits that I showed you, you're actually also very capable of soloing not legendary bounties, but you can do a lot of bounties and stuff and hero points and as well solo, because you are actually providing a lot of boons to yourself too. So that's the cool part. Like I said, we want to use the pig pet and we will always want to be in the Soulbeast in the merge stance. For healing skills and utilities, you want to go always with Heal as one. The Heal as one is very good because if you are merged with your pet, you actually get the copies of the pet that you normally would get the boons of. You would actually buff yourself up. So if you have boons from yourself, you just double the amount. It's really nice. Then you take, of course, Sigam, because Sigam and Soulbeast actually is granted to you and not your pet. So 25% damage buff, huge. Always use that when you want to burst something. Then we have Dolyak stance, just some nice stun breaks, some nice damage reduction, some nice stability. It's a really overloaded skill. And don't forget, this one is shared with your allies. So that means that you actually can help your allies giving stability, just give them damage reduction. It's really, really overloaded, the skill. Really strong as a DPS to help your allies. And then you have passively Signet of the Wild, just giving you some ferocity buff. And then one Wolfpack, again, it's shared, so it's a nice damage buff for your party. But other than that, it just gives you some really nice burst damage, because it will now hit an enemy that you hit a second time that deals some nice damage. So if you do, for example, like your X5, a multi-hit skill, then that will hit quite often and just increases your DPS by quite a bit. You are playing X Sword, and how is this build modular? So that you slowly increase the amount of skills that you use. You could just use the auto tech, and then you actually deal quite a decent amount of damage, and you don't have to press any buttons. But on Sword, you can just use your 2 skill and your 3 skill, which are both some kind of small jumps, but they both deal more damage than the auto tech. So if you want to increase your damage, just use the 2 and the 3 skill off cooldown. The only thing that is really important that you always should use, also in just the easiest option where you just auto tech, you should always use the 4 skill off cooldown. Why is that? The 4 skill is actually a damage increase, not only because it does some nice damage, but it's also a pull. And that will trigger your trait twice as vicious, which gives you a 10% damage buff. And this is easily, you can upkeep that 100% if you just spam that off cooldown, Path of Scars. So always use that skill even if you're just auto tagging. Then you can add the 2 and the 3 skill if you just want to increase your damage. And if you want to go even further, you can of course use your 5 skill, which is a very nice damaging skill, but it roots you in place. So if you want to optimize that, you should use that in conjunction with your 1 wolf pack and your Sigam. So always try to use your Sigam when you use your 2, 3 or 5. If you only use the auto tech, of course, just use it whenever. And the wolf pack you can use when you use a nice multi-strike, and of course try to align Sigam with 1 wolf pack so that your burst combo is everything is all at once, so the damage buff and stuff. If you want to go even further, you can of course use your Dolyak stance for a defensive or stability moment if you need that for your team, or just use it as a stun break. If you want to increase your DPS even further, you can go for Worldly Impact and Maul whenever you have it off cooldown. Of course, always if you see that your cooldowns are almost up, then and Sigam is also there, then you can try to align your skills that are not the auto attack with the Sigam buff to actually deal more damage. But like I said, you will actually be fine just using your 4 skill and the auto attack with the Sigam buff, and you actually deal some really nice amount of damage too. And you can slowly increase how many buttons you press and learn the build, so to say, slowly by yourself, if you can do that. It's really nice how easy you can start out and how easy you actually can climb in the DPS numbers just by pressing a few more buttons. Then, if you, for whatever reason in the fight and encounter, if something goes wrong, if the fight requires it, you need some range damage, you swap to your second weapon set and you can use your longbow skills for some nice range DPS. But it's not in the classical rotation, so I don't go over them here. That's it for the rotation. You can see in the background, it's really easy to play, it's really fun to play. It's, I would say, very nice and beginner friendly, and you can see the potential of a Soulbeast, and if you slowly want to learn more, that's how you start out. So it's a really nice build. Hope you enjoyed this quick guide. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks to all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch and Patreon. Thanks Lane, thanks Malice, and I hope to see you all in the next video.